possible that the bull run could be extended, and instead of ending in 2025, it might end in 2026. That's a possibility. Today, we're going to see why that's the case. I'm going to show you with data. As you already know, I'm a firm believer and advocate that markets operate in 4-year cycles. That's what has worked. I've been in the world of cryptocurrencies for 11 years, which is to say almost 3 full cycles. I've seen that they've always worked the same way, and I still maintain that, well, in the last quarter of this year, we should reach the peak of the bull run, right? That is to say, for me, October, November, and December would be the key months where I believe we will reach all-time highs across the entire variable market, including Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. But it is true that we are at a unique point that we haven't experienced in previous bull runs. And these 2 factors that I'm going to talk to you about, one of them is that there wasn't as much institutional interest in the world of cryptocurrencies before, and that institutional interest, along with the regulations and laws that have been signed recently, well, what they could do is, since all of this is so new, it might make this cycle last a bit longer than usual. In other words, if just a month ago they approved very important laws related to the cryptocurrency sector that could bring in large amounts of institutional liquidity, it wouldn't make sense for them to say, oh, well, we've just approved the laws now. Everything is in order for a strong influx of liquidity into the market so that the crypto world can keep expanding and growing. But since the agenda says that a crypto winter has to start in 2026, then everyone stop, everyone stay put, and let's wait until, I'm making this up, 2027 to start slowly putting money in again. And in 2029, during the next bull run, then we start pouring money in like crazy. But today, these years, let's stay still. Let's just sit on our hands. In other words, these laws we've just signed, we couldn't care less about them. Nothing happens at all. Or the logical and sensible thing would be, damn, if they've just passed these laws, if the crypto world is in full expansion, if money keeps pouring into ETFs, if all the companies, institutions, banks, and governments are fighting to see who can get the last Bitcoin, all of this is happening right now. The most normal thing would be for this market rally to last a bit longer, since we're in the middle of an expansion and the growth of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies no longer depends on retail clients, but now depends on big institutions, banks, investment funds. The big players are in the game now. The big players are on the board playing. We no longer depend on cycles or any of that vinegar nonsense. This could be a catalyst for the bull run to last longer, so that instead of seeing peaks in 2025 or at the end, we might see them in 2026. That's one of the things that could happen. Another thing that could happen, which I'm going to share my screen about now, is the topic of interest rates. That is, we all know that Jerome Powell, chairman of the Fed, the Federal Reserve of the United States, the ones who create the dollar, basically the owners of the dollar, said that this year, 2025, he promised 3 interest rate cuts. There still hasn't been a single interest rate cut. We're stuck at 4.5%, and there are only 3 Fed meetings left to decide whether there will be an interest rate cut, a hike, or if we'll stay neutral. Here, I'm going to share my screen so you can see it. The remaining meetings are on September 17th, October 29th, and December 10th. So what's going on with this, folks? If, in these last 3 meetings, in what's left of the year, they're going to start lowering interest rates. These are this year's cuts, the 3 cuts for this year, and in 2026, there should be more. In other words, Donald Trump wants to push until interest rates drop close to 1%. And right now, we're at 4.5. That is to say, obviously, well, it's a bit unrealistic to think they'll drop to 1%, but that they'll keep lowering them is definitely something we need to keep in mind. It's realistic to think that we might end this year with interest rates at around 3.75, and that's exactly what is being aimed for and what is expected. In fact, right now, as you can see here on the screen, there is a 93.2% chance that on the upcoming 17th of September, interest rates will be lowered from 4.5 to 4.25. A first drop, a first small decrease of 25 basis points. All of this, obviously, is just an initial rate cut, but it already moves and encourages the market to start rising. Some people are already motivated to take on debt, but the effect of the interest rate cut, obviously, is that the lower the percentage, the more attractive it is to borrow. That is to say, if at 4.25% we're already expecting inflows of liquidity and people taking out loans to invest, just imagine when it drops below 4% or even reaches 3%. Imagine that next year, in the year 2026, interest rates are at a very low 3%. This scenario is quite plausible. Well, obviously, it's much more attractive to take on debt in 2026 than it is now in 2025. What do I mean by this? Basically, I mean that if in 2026 interest rates are much lower than they are now, it will be in 2026 when people will start taking out loans in dollars, when Donald Trump, banks, investment funds, and institutions will start to take on debt. They'll say, hey, now that interest rates are lower, I'm going to ask for liquidity. And what are they going to do with that liquidity? They're not going to stash it under the mattress, watching inflation eat it away while they keep paying interest and installments. No. When they take out loans, they're going to inject that money into the stock market. We need to be aware of this. In other words, when what happened 5 years ago in 2020 took place, it was incredibly easy to borrow money, and we saw a massive surge in the market. Why? Because interest rates were practically at zero. In other words, money was free. Literally, free money. And what did the market do? It started rising non-stop. Then interest rates went up. When we saw declines, we all know that. Inflation improved and everything else. It's also true that with all the debt taken on in 2020, we had extremely high inflation reaching up to 10%. That is to say, when interest rates go down and everyone starts taking on debt, seeing that money is cheaper and they begin to borrow, that money will be injected into the variable market. When I refer to the variable market, I don't just mean Bitcoin. I mean the variable market in general, but it will be invested. We have to keep that in mind. It will be invested in companies. The S&P 500 will rise much more. It will also be invested in gold to protect against inflation, in properties, mortgages, in Bitcoin, and in altcoins. This is money that will be invested. And it's true that this money, this massive wave of debt, will eventually cause inflation over time. That's true. We have to keep that in mind. And that's why we're here on this channel, to take advantage of it, to protect ourselves from inflation by generating income with our investments. But we have to be aware that the fact that interest rates might start to drop from the end of this year, when we should be at the peak of the bull run, and throughout 2026 as they continue to lower them, which is when the crypto winter should occur, this factor could possibly make the crypto winter last longer. In other words, instead of arriving in 2026, it could be extended a bit longer, and the crypto winter might come when they stop lowering interest rates, or when they start raising them again, or when inflation starts to rise again. But in the midst of significant interest rate cuts, as these interest rates gradually go down, people inevitably start taking on more substantial debt and larger loans in dollars, which will then be injected directly into the broader market. Consequently, we absolutely have to carefully consider the very real scenario that possibly in the year 2026, if this economic trend happens precisely as I'm currently describing it, the market could indeed continue to keep rising steadily. And it could keep rising aggressively, meaning it would still be part of the bull run, leaving 2025 as the first part of the bull run, and instead of having a 1-year bull run in 2025, it could be a 2-year bull run, spanning 2025 and 2026. In other words, this possibility is currently on the table, ladies and gentlemen, and we all know what's going on with Donald Trump. He's going crazy pressuring Powell, like, lower the interest rates, lower the interest rates, lower them, or I'll kick you the hell out. In May, if you don't leave before, your contract ends in May. In May 2026, Powell's contract ends, and he's out. And I'm going to put in a Fed chairman who does what I say, who will lower the interest rates, and I'll ask for all the loans and credits I damn well please. And we're talking about starting from May 2026, when Jerome Powell, who has had run-ins with Trump, gets kicked the hell out, and another chairman comes in who will kiss Donald Trump's ass. And he'll do whatever he says. Hey, lower the interest rates for me. Yes, Daddy, I'll lower them for you right now. And that's how it's going to work. So if the rate cuts that are supposed to happen starting in September, then in October, then in December, and then at the beginning of 2026, even if they're small cuts of 25 basis points, should already get the market moving and rising. Just imagine what it'll be like from May 2026 onwards, with low interest rates, a new Federal Reserve chairman coming in who tells Donald Trump he'll lower them even more. And on top of that, a SEC chairman handpicked by Trump to push through every law favoring the crypto sector. So what are we going to have? We're going to have an unleashed Donald Trump, a Donald Trump who will start demanding money left and right, which is exactly what he wants and has said so on several occasions, and he's going to inject that money into the stock market. Donald Trump likes to play aggressively, and he's aware of everything. He's aware of everything that's happening. He's aware that all countries are competing for Bitcoin, and he said it before taking office. I want the United States to be the world's #1 crypto power, and I'm going to make it happen no matter what. Besides, as I said, the stock market as a whole, I'm not just talking about a rise in the crypto market, I'm talking about a general market upswing, because in the end, everything has an impact and everything goes hand in hand. But we really need to keep this factor in mind, because it could break with everything, the entire market cycle, and it could mean that everything gets extended. I have my own goals, my short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. For the long term, as you know, I'm in Bitcoin for the long haul. I can see Bitcoin in the long term. I look at it 5 or 10 years ahead, and I'm sticking with it. If it reaches 1 million, that would be fucking awesome. With altcoins, with Ethereum, I can also see it in the long term, now that it has significant institutional entry, like the Ethereum ETFs, and seeing that it has growth potential. I can also stick with Ethereum and work with Ethereum for the long term. With altcoins, you already know that my goal is, when we're close to the peak of the bull run, which obviously we're not going to nail, nobody will, but when we're close, my goal is to get rid of all my altcoins. Sell them all, sell my positions both in spot and my leveraged longs, sell everything. That's my goal. But obviously I have to assess the market day by day. I have to analyze it daily, and if, for example, October, November, and December come around, and I see that the market still has potential to keep rising, that the alt season hasn't arrived yet, and there's no sign that we're close to a crypto winter, then I'm going to hold on to my altcoin positions a bit longer. Just in case the peak or the rally or the alt season, instead of arriving at the end of this year, happens at the beginning of next year, which could be a possibility. That is to say, I can't be the one here who, just because of an idea that has worked for years but could change right now, throws everything away and says, look, I'm going to get rid of all my altcoins at the end of this year, even if there isn't an alt season. And then the alt season comes at the beginning of 2026 and I end up looking like a fool. Instead, obviously, since there is good risk management, a good strategy, and despite any downturns that may occur, we are well protected. That is, we can consider the scenario of holding our positions a bit longer in case, due to low interest rates and people starting to borrow and inject money into the stock market, the bull run could be extended, the bull market could last longer, and we could take advantage of it a bit more. In other words, this is how you work intelligently. That is to say, you need to maintain a firm and conscious strategy with good diversification and good risk management, but obviously you have to be realistic and keep a cool head. If we see that we had calculated that by the end of this year, we needed to reach certain goals and we haven't reached them, but there are also no signs that we're going backwards. On the contrary, there are indications that perhaps those dates have simply been pushed back a bit instead of the end of the year, maybe the beginning of 2026, then let's extend the timeline and try to make the most out of the market. But this scenario we have on the table, we need to keep it very much in mind because these are variables, these are fundamental news items. They have nothing to do with technical analysis. These are fundamental news items. Interest rate cuts, mass adoption, passing laws that favor everything related to the cryptocurrency market, and that could extend the bull run. That in May 2026, Jerome Powell could be out and a new Fed president could come in who is more favorable to the market. That we are still at the beginning of Donald Trump's term where he wants to make as many changes as possible, and all of that influences the rest of the world. In other words, right now, the current market as it presently stands looks exceptionally good. Obviously, there are numerous variables, many significant factors that could potentially change, but at this very moment, the overall market truly looks very good, and I genuinely want to make the absolute most of this favorable situation. And from here, I just wanted to share this opinion with you because I think you should know it, since you've been following me for a while, and you know the experience I have in this sector. So today, at least, I'm sharing this opinion of mine with you. This is what I think, and I'm telling you what I might possibly do. In any case, I will keep you updated, of course. Like, I'm here with you every week, and I'll keep you updated. Hey, look, I think that based on this new development, the market could keep going up or not. Or look, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Just like I always share it with you here on YouTube, on Instagram, in the Telegram group, in the Ohana Trading Club. We share all of this. Guys, we're still in long positions. Guys, we're still trading, still holding our positions, still using our bots, our green AI bots. We're going all in and making the most of it. When we see that we've reached the peak and a crypto winter is really about to arrive, well, we sell, cash out everything, and for a year while the market is going down, we'll just do some DCA little by little and move into another sector, right? Basically, we take the profits and start investing them in another sector, right? For example, the world of real estate, which I always mention to you, keep increasing your properties. In the end, I always tell you this. The crypto world gives you the chance to move ahead faster in the game of life, to generate much more money much more quickly, if you use your head and know what you're doing, so that later you can use that money to have stability in less volatile things. The crypto world is very volatile and very risky, obviously. You have to be tough here. You have to be tough to get into the cryptocurrency sector. You need to have a very cool head. This is something I always tell you as well, right? You need to have a very cool, even frozen mind. Emotions are unacceptable in this sector. Whether you're a blindly optimistic fool or a bitter pessimist who always expects the worst case scenario, either way, you're screwed. Whether you're someone who gets carried away thinking this is going to hit $1 million tomorrow, or you're an idiot who thinks it's going to drop to $1,000 tomorrow. Whether you fit one profile or the other, stay away from this world because you're going to get screwed. They're going to leave you wide open. You need to get out of here. Don't even think about talking about cryptocurrencies. This isn't for you. This is for tough people, for people with guts and knowledge, for people who are used to suffering, to losing. Someone who says, okay, I'm going to lose 1,000 times, I'm going to lose $100 1,000 times, but then I'm going to win 3 times, $3 million each. You just don't care. The crypto world is made for those kinds of people. For people who say, okay, one day you lose 1,000, another day you lose 1,000, another day you lose 1,000, another day you lose 1,000. You've had 100 losing streaks of 1,000, you've lost 100,000, and suddenly you hit a good streak and win $1 million. You don't care about having lost 1,000 euros 1,000 times, you just don't care. It doesn't matter to you at all. Okay, so I've lost 1,000 times, or I've lost 100 times 1,000 euros or $1,000. I've lost 100 times $1,000, $100,000 down the drain, and I've won once $1 million. There's a difference of 900,000 euros or dollars there. In the end, it's about keeping at it, working, doing your thing, and not letting it get to you, not letting it affect you. Until the moment arrives. You've seen it here many times, how we've held positions for years even, saying, okay, we have targets. We invested in Bitcoin with leverage at $850, which we did live here with all of you some time ago. We held on, we didn't care. The market went up, down, dropped even more, stayed sideways. It was boring. We waited a year and 10 months, and after a year and 10 months, we got the results. Yes, we had to wait a year and 10 months, but hey, we multiplied our investment by 100. That's freaking awesome, folks. What happens along the way doesn't matter. Everything is experience, everything is knowledge. Every mistake and every screw up we make serves as a lesson, makes us stronger, and toughens us up. This is what happens if you like the world of martial arts. Take a day and let someone punch you in the spleen. Bam! Let them punch you. I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're going to feel like you're suffocating. You're going to feel like you're dying, like you can't breathe. Because you've been punched in the spleen and you'll feel like you're dying. It's more psychological than physical, the feeling of suffocation. But I'm telling you, when you get hit for the 10th time, that is, when on the second day you get punched again, you'll also feel like you're suffocating. On the third day too, but a little less each time. When you get punched in the spleen for the 10th time, you won't feel like you're suffocating anymore. You won't feel like you're suffocating anymore. And what's the difference? The punch is the same. The same person gives you the same punch with the same force. So what has changed? You've changed. You've gotten used to the pain. You've gotten used to it. You've said, damn, I've taken 9 punches and I haven't died. I know that my mind creates a false sensation of suffocation, but it's not real. By the 10th powerful punch, your mind is already thoroughly trained to truly know that you're not really suffocating or actually dying, but rather just experiencing a temporary discomfort. Your body withstands it better, and now when you get punched, you stay on your feet and keep breathing, until the moment comes when you don't even feel them anymore. By the 20th punch, the 50th punch, there comes a point where you're made of steel. Well, in the financial world, it's exactly the same. It works the same way. By taking hits, you won't meet anyone who succeeded on their first try. I don't know anyone like that. All successful people are, in essence, failures who simply never gave up on their journey. All successful people. They are all people who have experienced setbacks and failures, but they never gave up. But you have to learn to deal with failure. I admit it. I'm a failure who never gives up. And I might fail 1,000 more times, but I will never give up. I'm absolutely sure of that. I will never give up. Never. I'm absolutely sure of that. And I'm aware that I'm going to fail, to fall short, and to make mistakes thousands more times. I'm aware of that. I accept it. Like I David, accept that I'm going to mess up. I accept that I'm going to make 1,000 more mistakes. But I also accept that behind each of these mistakes, there will be a lesson, there will be mental and physical strengthening, and each time I will keep improving and I will never give up. And each and every one of you should think exactly the same, with coherence and with common sense. But that's life. You have no other choice. And I assure you, when the time comes that you've taken so many hits, that life has hit you so many times, there comes a point when you're immune, when you say, I'm used to it now, you know? Now I'm indestructible. Nothing can defeat me. Like if I've already been through everything, what could possibly destroy me? What could they do to destroy me? Just kill me. If they kill me, I have nothing left, you know? Let them kill me. That's life. That's why you have to stop being a wimp and start doing things seriously and with your head, with coherence. Like I always tell you, in the end, to make money, you just need to have character, attitude, effort, perseverance, and discipline. Nothing else. It's not like you have to be, wow, you need to be an intellectual here, a genius at life, a world-class scholar, someone born with a silver spoon in their mouth and blessed from above. That's all bullshit. Those are just bullshit. Success is for those who go out there and look for it, for those who go out there and get their hands dirty. Success is for those people. As for the rest, they can keep waiting. It will never come to them. And that's pretty much all I have to say, folks. I just wanted to share my opinion on this so that you're aware that the bull run could possibly last longer, and I've just shown you the data to prove it. I mean, I'm going to make a wish when I see a shooting star, that the bull run lasts a little longer this year or next year, just because I want to dream. No. I'm telling you this with data. Certain laws have been passed that could bring in a lot of institutional money, and interest rates are going to start dropping during this September, October, December, and throughout the year 2026. In May 2026, Jerome Powell is going to head home to rest, and a new president who supports Donald Trump will take over. All of this, which represents fundamental and truly significant news, makes liquidity flow into the market much more smoothly, efficiently, and in substantially larger amounts. Nothing more, nothing less. Absolutely. The video has now lasted a little over 20 minutes, and this very last sentence I just told you would have been perfectly and entirely enough to succinctly sum up the entire comprehensive video. Interest rate cuts, approved laws, institutional money pouring into the market in droves. Nothing more, nothing less. And with that, there's not much more to say, folks. I hope you're enjoying the summer. If you're from another country where it's not summer yet, well, I hope you're enjoying the winter or whatever season you have there. And not much else to add. August, as you know, is a pretty boring month for the market. Even so, we could still have surprises. You never know with the crypto world. For now, we are seeing a bit of a recovery effect in the market, which is a good sign. Let's see how this week ends. And there's not much more to say. As always, thank you all for being here and supporting the channel, for trying to open your minds a bit more, not just getting caught up in emotions and all that, but approaching things with common sense, coherence, and doing things right. And you know that I always try to contribute my little bit from here, together with all of you. Hey, I do this because it fills me up, and seeing that there are people behind it like you guys who are there supporting, who are there giving likes with good comments, and who can use, well, what I can be giving you and offering here to your advantage. Well, the truth is that that's something that already fills me up. So from here, thank you all so much, and I hope you enjoy the week. A big hug.